All right, hello and welcome to the Post to Post podcast. This is season 5, episode 3. Hello back again to all you YouTube viewers who may not have seen our intro last week. I'm Jason, and that is Neil. Through the power of the internet again, because we are in red phase, and during red phase and orange phase in New Brunswick, we're not allowed to get together. So for the next while, anyway, you're going to be seeing the podcast like this, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I tried to go down in the podcast studio earlier, but the laptop I have down there is not powerful enough to do this setup. So I'm back in the most boring room in North America again. So I apologize for that, but it's going to take some work to be able to get me down there. I don't know if I'm willing to put in that work right now.
Yeah, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's a shame that we couldn't finish it back down there. Even if you had sat down there, there are still blank shelves.
You would have been looking at me with Gary Bettman and a blank shelf is what I had behind me. So anyway, let's get off to the YouTube update first. We put a video out, I think it was Wednesday maybe, talking about our proposed change, which is starting with this podcast. And I'm going to tackle the main comment head on right away is, why don't you just upload the full video and then clips after that? And the answer to that is we tried that before. I don't know if you guys remember. You can actually go back. We tried it when the channel first came out, actually, right? Episode 100, maybe it was 101. And those sub clips never got any clicks because in order for the algorithm to work, people actually have to be clicking on the videos that you're uploading. So if we upload the full episode and everyone is only watching the full episode, nobody is watching those sub clips. So those sub clips don't actually show up anywhere. So it's kind of it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And that would be, honestly, if we could do that, that's the best case, because then everyone can just click on the one video, they can watch it, and then we get random people coming in, but YouTube doesn't work like that. So that's why we can't go to that, at least now with the channel being so small. So this way, when people click on the playlist, by the way, check out the thing in the description. When they check out the playlist, they're actually going to each one of those videos. So those videos are getting clicks in a way, even if it's part of a playlist and it's automatic. But because those videos are getting views, they might be recommended now. So that is why we have to do it this way.
It's not ideal, but if we do it the way that everyone wants us to do, which I understand from a viewer's perspective, I understand it. But if we do that, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot again.
It's a lot more work creating the clips for like very, 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 very little views. Like I think some of those views had like 70 views, and they might have even been people that already watched the podcast and they were just helping us out a little bit. Like, no, it just doesn't work. And it sucks, but we're hoping that this way we're doing it now. You literally click on one of these videos. Like you can see down in the corner, well, everything's mirrored down there in this corner. It tells you what part of the video you're on. So if you click on any video and you're part whatever, you just go into the playlist or the description for that video and just click on the playlist, and it will take you to the first episode, and they'll all play in order. So it's literally just one more click than clicking on a video. Like in theory. Exactly. So hopefully it works out. You guys can let us know, but this is what we're going to try. And that's all I really have to say about it. I don't know if you've got anything to add, but there was a lot of comments on that video, and it was mainly saying, well, why don't you do it like this guy? Upload everything. And that's why the channel is so small that when we upload the one video, basically everyone just goes back to watching the one video. So instead of getting, like 4,000 clicks across 5 videos, you're getting, 600 clicks on one video as an example. So
yeah, and I think you should continue with the other part of your notes here when you talk about the financial stuff, because that's important.
I did. Look at this. I have notes. We're back to notes, people. Man. I printed them. So this is the reason, like when I was reading the comments and before I was talking to Neil, I actually made these notes separate from Neil. I don't even think I shared these with Neil. So I was just doing some math in my head. So when people upload stuff to YouTube, if they do well, they make money from their work, which is obvious. Everybody knows that. The podcast, we actually pay a fee to do our podcast and don't make money off of it. So it's like the opposite of YouTube. We're paying money to put out a podcast that we do not make money off of, which is fine. We've been doing it for X amount of years now, and that's how it's been. So it's
4 years. It's
$210 a year to host our podcast that makes no money. So it's literally a drain on everything. It doesn't contribute to anything. That's what it is. So since we've been doing this for a couple of years now, there's been over $700 spent hosting our podcast that has made no money. So
it's been fun.
Yes. And the thing is it's also a lot of work. So we're spending money and putting a lot of work in for something that we don't get anything out of, which is fine because, we're still doing it. But that's why we're trying to just change things up a little bit so that it can kind of balance out a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
exactly. And that's why when we got the table for the new setup, we did it through a donation process, and we got a plaque built with all the names put on it and stuff, because not only were we paying for the podcast fee to host it and our time doing it and stuff, we were considering dropping another $250 or whatever it was on a backdrop and a desk and stuff. And at that point, it was even more money being put into something that doesn't make money. So.
Yeah. And we just put more money into it because we just built a couple new shelves down there, which you haven't seen yet because I haven't been able to be down there. But so suffice it to say, the podcast is kind of a drain on everything else. And we're just trying to balance that a little bit. And we hope you guys can understand that. I know some of you aren't happy with it, but the way I'm looking at it is this is literally just one more click. Like you just click on any video that comes to your email or you see published on YouTube, go into the description, click on the link. It takes you to the first episode and they will all play through automatically. And that's all we're asking for is your support that way to try to help us out a little bit. And like I said, if this doesn't work, then we'll try to come up with something else. But in theory, we think this should work.
Yeah, obviously it's not ideal on your end, but it's an extra 10 to 20 seconds on your end. If you don't mind doing it and clicking the thing in the description, it should be exactly the same as a full podcast, basically. And
I also have one more note about money. Not that I don't really want to talk about money, but our Discord bot on Discord was being hosted by Fro at his work, who is a good friend of ours in Texas. He actually switched jobs and he had an Amazon web server from his work that he was giving us for free to use. We don't have that anymore. So we actually had to go out and pay for our own VPS. So now we have another expense on top of everything where we're hosting that Discord bot for people to have predictions and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of expenses and we're just trying to balance things. And as much as it sucks, I just hope everyone understands that where we're coming from. We're not trying to be greedy here. We're just, it's a lot of work. There's a drain. We're just trying to see if we can come up with something that doesn't impact the viewer too much, but it helps us on our end. So
it costs a lot of money to make videos. When you're focused on quality, I pay for the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite. That is $80 Canadian a month, not a year, a month. And Jason has the other license of that. There's two licenses that come with it. He's got one, I've got the other. So that's a huge cost. That is paid for through what I make on the productions channel. And then what else is there? The giveaways and all that stuff that happens every single month. So it's great that we're making a little bit of money and to be able to do these things, but we need to focus on the podcast making some money and it balancing itself out, like you said, Jason.
Right. So I think we're good there. If you guys still want to have comments about it, that's fine. You can leave them in here. That's what this video is for. This is only going to be the intro video for you people watching on YouTube. For you people listening, none of this affects you because if you're just listening to the audio version, everything's kosher. It's the same. But we made some changes to YouTube recently, if you don't know. And this is the first episode on YouTube that we're trying those changes. So we're good.
Or the second round of these changes.
The second round. This is modified changes based on the first round of feedback.
Yeah. I'm good to go.